Hello and welcome to Inside the NAL, where we bring you all of the action that you hopefully didn't miss from this last week of broadcasts in the competitive Rainbow Six scene inside the North American League. My name is Jess Brohard, and I'm here to bring you all the action, but I cannot do it alone. As you can see here with me, I have three of my favorite people in the world. First up, one of my dear friends who I've always wondered what his neck looks like, but he just never takes that scarf off. It's Blue. How you doing tonight?
Hey, doing pretty good. Pleasure to be back once again and talking about all the action that's happened here over the last week in North American Rainbow Six.
Glad to have you here. Next up, when he's not talking on broadcast, he is talking on Twitter. Stokes, how you doing? You avoiding that
I can
drama?
tell you I'm having a super Wednesday. Just super.
And then finally, it's the man with the plan who just wants you to get your crap together. I don't care. Put it all in a backpack if you have to. Just get your crap together. It is Veli.
Hey, what's going on? I'm excited once again inside the NAL. I'm ready to get this thing popping. Let's go.
Awesome. So am I. Well, we have a lot to cover tonight. So we are going to be going over, of course, the U.S. division matches, the Canadian division matches, and the Challenger division matches. So a lot happened. What was kind of the theme of this week for you guys?
Blowouts. We saw a lot of blowouts. Yesterday, we saw blowouts in the NAL. I believe in the Canadian division as well. There was a huge blowout. So some teams are now starting to really rise to the top and show the others why they're daddy and no one else can compare.
Yeah,
it's very much a different story of what we saw like a couple weeks ago when teams were, seemingly very close, especially in the NAL when we had those first couple weeks of play going off. It seems like there's definitely leaders and unfortunately losers starting to show up and show below the pack, and that's starting to make for some interesting storylines as well as we get closer and closer to major playoffs.
Yeah, that is what happens, is you kind of separate the wheat from the chaff, as you might say. I don't even know if that's still a saying anymore.
I've never heard that.
I'd say let's bring...
Never in my life.
You've never heard that?
In
Okay,
movies.
well...
You said bring the chaff?
It's kind of an old
Bring
saying.
the chaff?
Separate the wheat from the chaff. I don't know what chaff is, but I think it's bad, so you want to get the wheat, which is the good stuff, away from it. We're getting the good teams away from the bad teams, all right? Okay. Skill gaps are increasing. So let's talk about the Challenger League. First up, we saw PogChamp versus Polar Ace, or they're now called Ablation. They were called Ablation. Now they're back to being called Ablation, and we saw PogChamp take them in a 2-0 fashion. Now, for me, it was kind of one of those anything can happen situations, because we have seen some life out of PogChamp, and we've seen some life out of Ablation. So for you guys, was this 2-0 surprising?
Okay. I caught this match, and it was surprising. We saw, okay, I'm going to be honest. I hope I say his name correctly, but in Ryo, he was an entry fragger flex player. You saw him on Ash and Jaeger. And Ryo went absolutely, my man's went big the first map. And then after that, he disappeared. But the one important factor is that now I'm on notice to who this player is and the rest of the team as well. The first map was really close, but I have to give it to PogChamp. They're just that much better, and they showed. I expected it to be a blowout. Second map was definitely a blowout because we're looking at a Pro League caliber level team, right? So, and that's even not Pro League caliber, but NA League caliber. So I really expected PogChamp to just run away with it. First map, they ran into trouble. Second map, they showed us why.
Yeah, Stokes, Blue, anything to add there?
No, pretty much the same sentiments for me. That was one of those matchups where, like Veli said, things were looking a little bit close on the first map, but as we got into the second map, I think the team with more experience at the end of the day just ended up coming out on top of it, and that's pretty much what we saw, especially as we got towards the edge of that second map. It's just a team with a lot more experience, able to outclass their opponents in quite a few avenues.
Yeah, for me, I was only able to catch Oregon, which was definitely a better map of the two inside of that series. But looking towards Villa and seeing the bans that happened there, it really seemed that whoever was going to pick up the more offensive sides was going to win that one out. And that just so happened to be PogChamp. They ended up splitting 4-3, whereas their opponents only ended up getting 2 offensive rounds and 1 defensive round. So very rough stuff there for the opposition.
Yeah, and I did happen to catch both maps. You guys were absolutely right there. The first map, PogChamp did have to go on a little bit of a comeback, which actually leads into this clip that we are about to show you. So, and before this match, or during this match even, the casters were just singing the praises of Sweater. He's obviously a really talented player, and so what we're going to see here is he actually gets a double kill, and then PogChamp goes on to win many rounds and many maps in a row. This starts with PogChamp being down 3-6 in the first map, so take a look at this.
Sweater is going to get a shot onto In Rio, and that's what we've been needing from Sweater through this entire series, well, map, I guess. Bear will take down Trippin, though. That's the player by the bomb chassis. Trippin was going to be an integral part of the outcome of this round, and with him gone, Sweater has to take up the role. Land some shots there. Prod will get Razor, and there's the follow-up from Sweater. Beautiful stuff. Yeti and Vivid now, the support players in need of a stellar performance. There goes your smoke. Ghost gives a second opportunity to Yeti, who saw his opponent but reacted slowly. And suddenly, this is very winnable for Polar Ace, where once it seemed like a reverse lockout for PogChamp. There's the third from Sweater. We've been talking about him. He's needed the performance, and he's definitely giving to us now impact frags. But there's Vivid also getting prod. So it's the two underwhelmers who need to perform here in this 1v1. Vivid fakes out, peeks, goes for the fight, does some damage, but lower HP allows Sweater the 4K and the lockout. PogChamp will get one round.
He saved up all of his magic from those past 2 rounds.
Poggers for PogChamp. Like I said, that was kind of the turning point where PogChamp did go on to win out the next several rounds in a row to take that map and the next one in a clean 2-0 fashion. So, Veli, what did you think of Sweater there?
Sweater's the bomb.com, baby. I remember last week, Sweater had 15 kills in a map or something like that. The guy can actually...
Might have been 20 even.
It was how much?
It might have been 20, I think I remember.
He's better than I even thought he was. I imagined a high number, and he was way above that. Like I said, this team, they're tier 1 ready. It's just to the point of, can they be better? And I've said this every single time. Can they be better than The Last Dance and everyone else in the top of CL? If they really want to be the best, and they want to prove that and get better, against a team like Polar Ace, I get it. You're playing on attack on Oregon. You can't be down that low and have to force a comeback in order to win. You're going to have to show dominance against these lesser teams compared to the veteranship that's provided on your team. So next time around, I want to see blowouts when you go against teams on that level. And when it comes to facing the top tier teams in CO, you better keep it close. You better be on top. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, because that's kind of where the storyline takes us now for CL, right? As you've got PogChamp as a team made up of players who are really trying to push themselves up to the next level, and standing in their way is going to be those two teams. You've got, what is in large part the majority of a lot of the ex-EG guys and a lot of the ex-LG guys. Those are like the two guards right now that seem to be almost certain to try and push themselves forward further into CL and try to get the relegation slot to try and move up to the US division later on in the year, of course. But that's what we're going to have to ask ourselves and ask for a lot of these CL teams is, are they going to have enough to try and beat those two big dogs? And more importantly, are we going to see that from a roster like PogChamp?
Definitely. Well, here we have a look at the bracket so far, and we do see some of those kind of blowouts that you guys were mentioning. And of course, I know in a few of these cases, it was one of those situations where you see it's a 2-0, but then each map was actually a little bit closer, but still, what are you guys seeing here that you want to see more of?
This is exactly what we wanted to see, period. The 2-0s, like you said, yes, it looks like a blowout, but, we just saw a score where a team came back from being down 3-6. So we're talking about in between that 2-0 score line, these matches were way closer than it looked, and like I said, the competitiveness is high. But this is what we expected. Now we just need to see just like the end where the best play against each other. That's what I'm ultimately ready for, because relegation is going to be coming up soon, and I'm ready for it. I want to see who's going to be our first challenger.
Yeah, looking at the Group
Definitely.
A rankings right now, I would definitely say that it's exactly what we thought we were going to see. It literally looks like we took the seeds and just threw them right into the rankings.
Sam Stokes, if you and I were to make like a March Madness like prediction with Blue, this would pretty much be the results that we would expect, right?
Yeah, I'd be winning the $1 million at the end of March Madness. Yeah, I'd be winning that 100%.
Pretty much.
Well, and one thing we do want to point out is that is, so far we've pretty much been looking at the US Challengers League, and the next play we are going to see will be the Canadian Challengers League. So coming up this Friday, it's going to be Oblivion versus Honor, so we're kind of taking a break from the US Challengers League. And then after that, it will be Rent Free versus The Last Dance on July 24th. So July 24th, that is, excuse me. So speaking of Canada, let's go ahead and move on and talk about what happened this week in the Canadian division. We saw Nordic take a 2-0 versus Livid. Any surprises here?
I was surprised that they beat him that bad.
I was going to say, not too many surprises, especially if you just look at the stat line on CHGG between these two teams. I mean, the worst performer on Nordic still outclassed the best performer on Livid by over like 25% just on his rating, and I'm sure the other stats align to something like that as well. Unfortunately, there's just not a whole lot to talk about in that department when you have a match like that. Nordic had a very one-sided affair against this team.
Yeah, this was kind of one of those situations where you look at the 2-0 and you say, yeah, that it was kind of a blowout. Livid didn't put up too much of a fight here.
Well,
we have a look here at the Canada bracket.
You know the thing, though, Jess, no disrespect, but, I mean, yes, blowouts happen. Yes, you go against teams that are just way better than you. It could be just period or that day. But the good thing is, you're at this level, right? You're at this specific tier. Take that loss on the chin and learn how to be better from it. The VODs are there. Your game was casted. Why not go over to film and just correct the mistakes you all made? And I feel like whenever teams get beat like that, when they're working their way just higher up in the rankings, they take that loss, point the fingers, they keep it moving, and they continue losing the same way. No, that's not the way to do it. Sit down as a team, get better. And I want to see if there's actually a rematch in the future, if your whole team got better. That's a storyline I'm actually interested in.
Well, and we have seen a few signs of life. I mean, I didn't mean to make it sound like Livid just laid down on the job. They had a few bits and pieces going on there. We actually have a clip ready for you guys where Rowdy Owly, who the casters described as Livid's one ray of sunshine, has a really nice play here using the G8. He gets a double kill, and I'm not going to spoil the rest of it. Just watch the clip.
Very similar to their very first defense is defending another part of the map. Nordic, when they were playing on Aviator just the previous round, they had presence over in Trophy Statuary. Now they're defending Trophy Statuary, and would you look at that, they are going to very aggressively and with great malice, I'm sure, try to hold over towards Aviator. But hey, there's something kind of nice. And another one answered back, but then everybody's falling down, and it was the very first kill coming in for Livid. They'd only gotten one opening duel up until this point, but they are cleaning up right now and find themselves within the span of 15 seconds, going from a 5v5 to a 4v1. Skies had gotten a 4K in the previous round, but now he's going to have to go hunting for more and won't find anything other than an early death. He drops down, and he gets punished by Omega sitting on drone. Top 10 jump scares, why don't you? Livid takes their very first attack.
Yes, it was a very fast round there, and that was Livid's first offensive round win. So like I said, there's some bits and pieces going on, but unfortunately they did not go on to win any map, and like I said, did lose 0-2 to Nordic. Now, we did already show you guys the bracket, but Friday's matchup is going to be Mirage versus Altiora. And finally, let's go ahead and move on to the U.S. division. We've had play days 7 and 8. Veli, I see you getting excited. What are you particularly excited about right now?
I'm just excited about everything. The matches that we've had so far, especially with the heavyweights, the top 4 from Group A, those have been some of the most exciting matches I've ever seen in Siege. And not to mention, Sonic's last game with their full roster against eUnited. It was the weirdest but most entertaining game of all time.
Oh my gosh, that one was so good because that map too, where they had that weird, unfortunate choke and super got a team kill, and the casters had such a hilarious reaction.
I just remembered that when you brought it up too. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, it's entertainment at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had SSG 2-0ing Dark Zero also happening on Playday 7, and then moving on to Playday 8, we had TSM 2-0ing Dark Zero, and we had Tempo Storm 2-0ing eUnited. Now, about TSM versus Dark Zero, what I found interesting here is that Veli, you and Jesse both predicted that Dark Zero are going to win, and then, pretty much the exact opposite. The furthest thing happened, and instead they got 2-0'd. So, Veli, what is going on there?
Looking at TSM's track record throughout the entirety of this season, it was a safe bet to go for Dark Zero. Dark Zero, they have the #1 player in all of NA, which is going to be Hyper. He is the god when it comes to fragging and being an entry fragger, right? You would think that Dark Zero is going to have the upper hand against a team that's struggling with their main fragger not doing well, which is Merc. Jesse and I were so damn wrong. Merc showed up today, and in fashion, by the third round, he got an ace, and there was no stopping him after that. Merc was a star, and he was TSM's missing piece to that puzzle. Even though he's already been on that roster, he's been going through just a lot of just bad times, and to see him really frag out and make plays, it was poetry in motion. The man was off the chain.
Yeah, and I think the funniest thing to talk about in regards to Merc when it comes down to it is the fact that everyone was giving him a lot of crap because of his poor play. But looking at his play overall, he really wasn't that negative in comparison to how he, how he usually plays. Like, yeah, obviously he was not playing up to Merc standards, but at the end of the day, he wasn't necessarily being terrible. But inside of this game, everyone praises him. He does great, but he barely goes positive. I just think it's very weird, the bar that everyone has Merc set at right now, because we go from this game where he goes 20-17, he's +3 with a +2 on entry, and then we go to his previous games where he does a little less than average, and everyone's angry at him. It's a very weird thing. He's in a very finicky spot. I don't envy him at all.
Well, you know what, Sam? That's the thing, Stokes. We expect so much from Merc from what he's shown us. And let's be honest, Merc is a great player. And we don't want a league where if someone who's supposed to be great, they do bad, we pat him on the back and say, oh, it's okay, you did good. No, if you did bad, you did bad. And people was telling him you did bad. More negative than the others, okay? But the fact of the matter is, Merc was a liability on defense. I mean, if you're Maestro, you're supposed to be the guy that gets all the kills, right? Whenever someone enters the site, you can't be the first one or the second one dead in the majority of your rounds. Merc was slipping. And you know what? Sometimes accountability makes you better. And I'm pretty happy that he took that on the chin and kept it moving.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit more about the Sonics. I know you guys kind of cringed and said, "Oh, I don't, didn't even remember this." But let's talk a little bit about their choke on map 2 there and the team kill that Super got. What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm remembering the round correctly, they had a pretty winnable, I think it was a 2v1 at the point that it ended up happening, where they were running low on time to try and close out the round, and Super makes a very unfortunate last moment decision. I'm assuming just because communication was at a bit of a lapse at the time. He saw a player out of the corner of his eye, took a quick shot, and it just so happened to be his teammate. Ends up knocking him out, and then the last player alive on the other side in the other bomb site, that's a good 5 to 10 second run away, now only has to just stay alive for about 5 seconds and only has to worry about one player on the peak anyway. From that point forward, it's just a matter of waiting it out, and that's exactly what that player does on the other side. Very unfortunate turn of events, and it directly led to the Sonics losing that second map.
And that was a beautiful description, a wonderful play-by-play from Blue. So let's go ahead and take a look at the clip of the players actually in action doing it themselves.
Defense being poured in. The Sonics have to win this one, otherwise we're going to coastline between these two. Here comes the execute, the rush down, but no, it's actually Yeti inside of Blue to get the initial kill, fragging out with his Vector. Grixer's there to help as well, but a nice shot, a quick rotate here. Oh no, Super, what have you done? He kills Gumpy, and he can't put the plant down! Super, what are you doing? Oh my god! Oh, not like that! Oh, dude, that's tough. That's real tough. You're not getting away from that one, man. I'm sorry. Nobody can save you from that.
Big spam in all caps for all following that round's over 2. You guys talk too much.
Oh, unfortunate.
What an unfortunate way for the map to end for the Sonics after taking such a huge lead early on. I believe the half was at 5-1 or something like that as well. They unfortunately are not able to capitalize on that, and they end up dropping it in OT. eUnited take our second map 8-7. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to a third
It is so hilarious seeing you guys' reactions once again. Stokes just with the head down. What were you thinking?
I was thinking my best friend Super just made a big mistake. That's what I was thinking. I was like, you know what, man? The good news, the good news for him and the Sonic squad is that they eviscerated the opposition on the next map. 7-2 on Coastline, and I mean, Oregon wasn't even, that big of a struggle, 7-3. So for them up against eUnited, it's not like it was really the end of the world. It was more like, okay, an error was made. It just happened to be at the very last end of Clubhouse. We'll just get through Coastline.
Really good sign as a team as well. They were able to just take that loss and very quickly go into the next map and immediately bring a 7-2 victory back to them. That's a sign of a really good team. There's been a lot of teams, even in other games that I've cast in the past, where they have that kind of an upset happen at the end of a map and they just get completely morally destroyed at the end of that map and they don't really have anything left in them for the next one. So that's a good sign that the Sonics are able to quickly rebound and take such a decisive victory on the third map.
Absolutely. That definitely shows what a talent the Sonics are, but then on the other side of the table, let's look at eUnited. And yeah, it's great that they were able to take that one map, but then you also got to look at them getting 0-2'd by Tempo Storm. And I know, Vela, you're going to have some choice words a little later on, so let's also hear from Stokes and Blue on what's going on with eUnited.
It's a very, very hard sight to see in the case of eUnited, and I think we're all going to echo the same phrase here, but it's the entry game. It's strictly the entry game for eUnited. They actually do a very good job of managing their utility. It's simply the fact that they can't get into sight on their offenses a lot of the time because of that entry game. It's something that they need to work on because as of right now, there is a lot of members of this team that play some very aggressive operators that don't seem to want to get aggressive on those operators. For instance, inside of that match, Alfama was actually -1 on entry. He went 2-3, and his most played offensive operator was Ash. So it's very weird in some of these, random areas of eUnited's game where we just don't see anybody really move.
Yeah, and I mean, even on top of that one too, like even in late round, there's quite a few issues showing up. This all ultimately goes back to eUnited's attack, which is a point that I really beat to death on the broadcast itself. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about this. But yeah, I mean, even when we get into a late round situation, there's a lot of times where they're just getting caught out of position or just getting completely wiped off when trying to go for these last minute executes. Something really wrong is going on there, whether it's the intel game or just trying to set themselves up for success. And that on top of the problem of them not being able to get entries is just leading to them getting, completely flawlessly shut down by their opponents on multiple attacking rounds.
Well, before we hear from Veli and what exactly he thinks of eUnited and what they need to do, we have a fun little video for you. This is kind of like when your kids take you to do something fun before they give you the really bad news. So check out this interview that Jackie did with Yeti from eUnited.
Hey everybody, it's Jackie Jing and I'm with Yeti from eUnited. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you're in the hot seat today. We're going to be asking you some really tough, hard questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, my first question for you is who snores on the team?
Call out easily. Sometimes he sleeps on the floor and just roosts.
Okay, great. I love the sound. Do you guys have a team pet?
Forrest. Forrest is the team pet. I'll be honest. He's the closest thing to an animal we have on the team.
Oh my god, okay. Who is the messiest?
You don't hate me for saying that. Alfama is definitely the messiest.
Okay, give us a story.
Oh god, he's gonna kill me. I can't do him like that. I can't. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I can't do it.
Okay, but we know he's the messiest. Who's the clean freak?
Call out. He takes like 10 minutes after we do something, like 10-minute cleaning session. It's like a pit crew in the kitchen.
Oh my
it's
God.
Ridiculous.
Red Bull, Rain, or G Fuel?
Oh, all right. So I'm formerly known as the Rain Man, but as of lately, shout out to Red Bull, man.
Hey!
Was it like 4 of these tonight?
4?
Yeah, they're small. I'm 6'4". I'm a big guy. Like, I'm 6'4",
Okay.
220 pounds. Like, I need a lot.
Okay, for Red Bull, you ain't sleeping tonight. Who's gonna be the next TikTok star?
Probably Alfama. According to some people, he makes Twitter, TikTok videos. So
Okay, Alfama the TikTok star. Who takes the most selfies?
Alfama again. He loves it.
He's your go-to answer.
He does all these things. Like, there's not a better person. Like, Call Up barely uses social media. Forrest is a shit poster. He just shit posts all over Twitter. And then Bagel, most people don't even know what Bagel looks like.
Oh my god, okay. Who has the best hair?
gonna say me right now. If I'm gonna mess my stuff up though, he shaved me bald, and then it's all lopsided. I'm going to Fade Factory here in Las Vegas in a little bit. But
He gave you a haircut?
at the lad pad during quarantine, we were shaving each other's head like twice a week. It was ridiculous.
Oh,
I
my goodness.
funny story. There was one time, call out wanted a haircut, just a side shaved, and I had no idea. So Alfama's sitting there shaving his side. So I come up with and I did not know he just wanted the side shaved. I thought he wanted to go bald. So I come up with scissors, grab the top of his head, and just snip it all off. So he ended up going bald. It's still a little messed up. There's a little bald spot on top.
Oh my gosh, I might have killed you if you did that, by the way.
Well, he got revenge. He put this scuffed line in the side of my head. It's gone now, but it was so scuffed. It was like completely like, it was as wide as a semi truck. There's just a big bald spot on the side of my head. I wore a hat for like a month.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, eUnited's Yeti, thank you so much. You're out of the hot seat now. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
That was hilarious. What he said, he drinks 4 Red Bulls a day, something like that.
Is
That's
that healthy?
nuts.
The answer is no.
Absolutely not.
Just makes him talk
If we
really
ever
fast.
see Yeti on
apparently.
a rent out and he just stands still for like a limited time, we know it's the Red Bull, 100%.
Yeah. I'm scared if I ever drink 4 Red Bulls. I already talk fast enough.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's talk about this Group B bracket here. What do you like? What do you not like? What do you want to see?
I think looking at this bracket, all of us taking a moment to think about it here. I think that, like, honestly, both the groups ended up panning out really well because we've got a really, I think, small skill gap between a lot of these teams. Potentially, you know, disrupting the Sonics. This is the storyline of 2 teams that have been doing incredibly well, especially throughout the first phase of stage 1 as well here, where we've been seeing them kind of climb up, make these gradual improvements on a match-to-match basis. And both of these teams have been doing that every single match. So now we get to see them clash against each other, disrupting the Sonic clashing. I think that's going to be a really epic occasion.
I think the coolest thing walking into that Disrupt Sonics matchup is that the Sonics were not the best for a very, very long time. They continuously worked on their roster, brought in some international talent, and finally things are starting to pan out. They're looking good, especially Iconic. He's working out very, very well, and I could definitely see him coming soon to be Rookie of the Year if he can continue his reign of terror, honestly. But for Disrupt, it's more of the band of misfits. It's all the people that came together after all the rosters were made, wanted to make a team, Disrupt picked them up, and they've been so successful as opposed to what everyone thought was going to happen. I really feel like this is the story of like the young buck versus the old man that's been working through all of this. You know, he's finally got to the point where he's successful, he's doing well, and they're about to duke it out. I'm extremely excited for this one, but I'm more excited for NGR versus Iconic.
Yes.
Lot to look forward to, but before we get into all of that, Veli, I believe you have some choice words for a certain team. Now, what was it? You didn't call them the best team in North America. You called them, what was it? Oh, I don't remember.
They were the winners in the Super Bowl of trash cans, all right? You know what, man? It gets to a point where, like I said earlier, we can't pat teams on the back if they're doing the wrong thing. And you take a look at eUnited and it breaks my heart. So that's the reason why I chose them for my segment on Step Up. Because they seriously need to step it up now before it gets way too late. So Stage 1, we're in the middle of Phase 2, and they're already dead last out of 8 teams. Now, that's pretty much unacceptable. You bring in Alfama from Europe, and Alfama, he came from a great lineage of players. He was pretty much at the top of Europe. He was a great support player, and everybody knew what he was capable of. You look at Yeti, you look at his past, you're like, okay, this team, they have some good building blocks, but the rest isn't making sense, and I don't know why. I don't know if some players need accountability or whatnot, but in case nobody wants to say it, I will. Stokes touched up on it earlier with Blue, and it's, to be quite honest, they need an entry fragger. They need a real slayer. They need someone that could be an aggressive playmaker because they simply don't have it. I'm not going to call out who needs to get replaced on the team because that's none of my business. I can only say who really needs to step it up in their specific roles. So when it comes to entry, and the reason why I fully believe that they need something or someone new is because whenever you look at them on attack, it looks like a mess, okay? Grixer, I believe, is a good player. He's a really good player. But it seems like eUnited, they focus their stress big time around crutch operators like Ying and Clash. And you can't have that if you're trying to be the best of the best, because if that player dies, what are you left to do? Exactly nothing, right? Now, eUnited, you take a look at their total stats. I mean, it's a mess when it comes to the entry column. It's a mess when you look at the KD column. It's just a mess, period, right? They're in 8th place. So what's the answer? There's a solution. A lot of people, they might not say it out loud, but I'm going to say it for you. You might need some new blood. You need some new blood. When you talk about a roamer or an entry fragger, you don't see it on this team, but you see it out there. If I were you guys, I'd call it Mo Digga out of retirement. You see Jay and I know running around. He's a free agent. He's subbed for Sonics. You know what he's capable of doing. There's so many players out there that could fill that role that you guys desperately need. And my question is, how long are we going to wait until we make that play? Because I'm letting you all know now. We see The Last Dance. We see PogChamp. We see everybody out there in Seattle. They're licking their chops, waiting to take a spot. So what are you going to do? Are you going to wait it out till it's too late? Or are you going to make that change and be the team that you all think you're going to be? That's pretty much all I got to say. I mean, I've been harsh on this team. I've been critical. And it comes time where it's like, you know what? Like, everything for show and whatnot goes out the window. And let's just be real for a second. This team needs to do better because there's been so much invested. eUnited is such a great org, and I know that they want results. So let's give them a little bit at a time starting now.
I know this is the part where we're supposed to yell at you and tell you that you're wrong, but I can't yell at you if you're right. So I'm just going to sit here and nod my head and say, absolutely, Mr. Valley, you are completely correct.
You know what, though, Stokes and Blue? Like, it really breaks my heart, though, because we look at this roster, and it's not like we want to be mean to him, right, Blue?
Exactly.
Like, you look at Yeti, and I don't know if it's just me. I just want to hug him and Alfama, and they deserve better.
It's also, I feel like eUnited's issues are very similar to the issues the Tempo Storm has, where it's almost a question of consistency among a lot of the individual players. We compare the stats from Monday to Wednesday's matches.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
I'm just going to use Yeti as the specific example here, right? Because he, in a lot of ways, took on the entry role, like on both matches. If I'm looking at the stats correctly right now, he is the most opening duels out of any other member on the team from that match. And on Monday, he went 3-9, but today he managed to come out and bring a 4-3 performance. So, when things like that, it just seems like the roles are a little bit flip-flop right now. Players don't necessarily have full confidence in what they may be doing in any given match or in any given round. And I think that that's something they need to try and sort out, and hopefully sort out very quickly here, so that the individuals can work on their own specific performance in their own individual roles.
This is my thing. I get it. Alfama, he might have had fun in scrims, running around as Ash and that R4C. But let's be completely honest. That's not what Alfama's best at. Whenever we see Alfama just really in a strong support role, sitting there as Mira making plays, Alfama goes big. And he definitely helps that team win whenever he's in those roles on defense. On attack, let's put it back in a comfortable role, because it's not meant for him as Ash unless, he's willing to prove me wrong, which is something I haven't seen yet. But, it's about time we put players in the best role possible for them. Let's stop the experiments and really get the ball rolling.
Yeah, well, eUnited, currently they are dead last. They're sitting in 4th place out of 4. And, I mean, eUnited, we only say these things because we care. We want you to be better. Not for the teams that beat you, not to prove them wrong or anything, but for yourselves. We just want you to be better. Because
No. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, okay? Like, I'm starting to lose hope. Like, tell me I'm stupid by blowing teams out in the future. Like, come on, we need it.
It's painful, man. It's painful.
Yeah.
It hurt.
It is a little painful, but at the end of the day, you know what? It's in the past, and as Rafiki says, what's in the past can't hurt you anymore. Let's look to the future. Let's look at the matches that are coming up this coming week. So on Friday, we'll have the Canadian Challengers Division. We're going to be seeing Oblivion versus Honor. We're also going to be seeing in the Canadian Pro Division, Mirage versus Altiora. Monday, we'll be seeing Oxygen versus SSG and the Sonics versus Disrupt. And then on Wednesday, we'll see TSM versus TBD and Tempo Storm versus TBD. What are we all particularly excited to watch here?
If anybody says anything outside of Oxygen versus Space Station Gaming, I would literally jump to the computer and fight you right now.
You know what? It's definitely not Oxygen versus SSG.
All right, we're throwing hands.
I want to see you matrix through my screen right now.
Stokes, you were just contrary tonight. You were just trying to get into
If you don't come out of my iPhone right now, I swear to God, Valley.
You're going to see a brown hand just flash through your computer screen.
I would be terrified.
But
I just I just wanted to give a highlight to the second Friday match, Oblivion versus Honor. It is Canadian CL, as we talked about before, but just to give a little bit more context as to what exactly that match is, that's the current top 2 teams in each group. So don't necessarily sleep on that match. Canadian CL is a new thing. It means we have a lot of new teams stepping up to the plate, and this will be a great chance to check some of them out for the first time.
For sure. There's a lot of action to watch. I think I'm very interested in Sonics versus Disrupt as well. There's just so much to unpack here. So many great matches that I'm very excited about. Any final thoughts, either from this past week or looking ahead to the future?
I'm good.
I have a hot take.
Don't all answer at once. Finally, some silence, Stokes.
No, I seriously have a hot take. And Blue, Jess, Stokes, like, let me know if I sound stupid. But after seeing context, Sonics has played with 2, a minimum of 1 sub, 2 at the most, throughout the majority of their games this season. They finally have their full roster. Slebin and Gonfi, the 2 European imports, they're visaed up and they're able to play now, right? They've looked so strong. And I was thinking about it today. I saw a post from my man Suzaku, the best tweeter of all time. And he said, Sonics made me a believer. I think that they're a top 4 team. They can be a top 4 team. My hot take, if they had that full roster from the beginning, Sonics, top 2 in Group B.
Ooh.
Period.
Yeah.
Maybe. But there's also something to be said just for beginner's luck. Sometimes, maybe their subs are doing more work than you're expecting. I don't know. My take.
Maybe.
Hold on,
Maybe it's this particular combination of players that is. I don't know. Maybe if you mess with that ecosystem, everything might fall apart.
I don't know. Slebin and Golf are just on another level, though. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Jada, I know, like, he's really good, but the moment Slebin came back, it was sexy. Like, everything he did was just beautiful.
I think there's room to argue that you could have very easily seen the Sonics make it at very minimum into Group A of Phase 2 if they had the full roster from the beginning. I could very easily see that happening. With some of the minor issues we saw in the first phase from a lot of like the top dogs. I think that there's definitely a time where Sonics would have been able to sneak through that very easily. Now, whether they would have been able to go through and get the top 3 position to make it to the major, that's where you start to question a little more, but I think they could have very easily made it into Group A if they had the full roster from the start.
Maybe. We will never know. It's a coulda, woulda, shoulda type situation. All we can do is look to the future. But hey, guys, remember to keep an eye on twitch.tv/rainbow6 every Monday, Wednesday, Friday to catch those matches, and on Twitter at R6 Esports and at R6 Esports NA, so you can not miss any of the action. And we'll be back right here for more Inside the NAL, same time, same place next week. We'll see you then.